Last year, my husband Harry and I met my parents, aunt, and uncle for Thanksgiving. They had been vacationing together a few days prior. As we were leaving, my aunt, visibly upset, pulled me aside. "I need to talk to you. Can you call me in a few days?" I asked if she was okay. She said yes. "I just need to ask you something, but not now." When I called to ask what was going on, my aunt said, "I heard something that seems very out of character for you, and I want to see if it's true." Evidently, a few days before Thanksgiving, my parents told her an untrue story about how my current husband and I met. To note, I was separated at the time from my now ex-husband when we met. According to my parents, she explained that I met Harry while online soliciting for a proposed threesome with my ex-husband as a last-ditch effort to salvage my then-failing marriage. However, during this tryst, Harry and I supposedly realized we had a connection, which led to us to be together while choosing to dissolve my previous marriage. My parents shared more gross details, but I'll spare you. I was shocked, as none of this was true. We met at work through mutual friends, and our romantic relationship developed slowly over a period of time. I had repeatedly told my parents how we met, and even introduced our mutual friends to my parents at our wedding as the ones who got us together. So I FaceTimed my parents and asked them why they're lying about us behind our backs. They look me dead in the eyes and say, "Because that's what you told us." Excuse me? When I refuted this, my dad proceeds to get angry at me, saying that I must have amnesia, as my mom stormed off, refusing to discuss the issue. The rest of the call is me sitting in silence while he attempted to gaslight me. I'm dumbfounded. A few days later, I got a call from my cousin. She explains that my dad had told her husband the same story almost 8 years ago, which they believed until now. My cousin apologized for not saying anything sooner, but the story made them so uncomfortable, they didn't know what to do. Harry and I wrote my parents an email explaining what we had discovered and asked them some simple questions like, "Why did you make this up? Who else have you told this to?" etc. We've been emailing back and forth for almost a year and have gotten nowhere. Their story keeps changing. The blame keeps shifting, and they've continuously tried to diminish the seriousness of this issue, even saying, "No one thinks any less of you because of this." What? It never happened. Period. The only apology we've gotten is, "We're sorry for upsetting you." You mean you're not sorry for lying about your daughter for 10 years? Most recently, they've almost demanded that we forgive them and move on. Since we haven't forgiven them yet, we're responsible for my mother crying all the time and essentially breaking the family apart. So, am I the idiot for wanting to continue to avoid my parents, even though I'm tearing the family apart? Not the idiot. Holy crap. Are they okay mentally? Well, firstly, they made up the story and got themselves in this dilemma. So the responsibility is on them, for a start. And who in their right mind makes up stories about their kid soliciting three-ways? Even a grown-up kid. Is it something your ex could have invented to ruin your reputation? Very disturbing. I actually had the same thought, so I contacted him. My ex is equally as disturbed and angry as we are. I actually started looking into personality disorders after this event. Based on my research, I think they're crazy. If the ex didn't say anything, then you should go no contact with your parents. You don't need parents spreading rumors like that. It's so weird and gross that they went into detail about this imaginary incident. That kind of borders on psychopathic behavior, especially because they don't understand why you're upset. Have they made up other stories about you in the past? Even by some weird chance, that crazy story would be remotely true. Why would you share this with family about your own child? I mean, what? The way your dad jumped to anger and your mother just walked away, I suspect it was her idea and story, and your dad enabled her by treating it like fact. And this isn't the first time this has happened. I think they've earned a nice long time out. 10 years seems about right, doesn't it? My daughter-in-law and her baby stay with me. I don't want to get into what happened with my son, but he's not in the picture now. It's only them two. I have noticed that my daughter-in-law is horrible at cleaning up after herself and the baby. She often has dirty diapers, bibs, and clothes lying in the open. She leaves dirty bottles in the sink and the baby's high chair with leftover food. Over and over again, I've gently reminded her to take care of these things, and it seems like nothing I say sticks. It will be good for a while, but then it'll start happening again. I'm tired of living in these conditions in my own home, and it's not good to raise a baby in an unclean environment and develop these habits either. I'm not her maid. I help out with the baby as much as I can, and I don't charge her rent. So I finally put my foot down and said that if she doesn't stop being a slob, we're going to have to find different arrangements. I wouldn't actually kick them out. This was just more of a tactic to get her to start cleaning up after herself. She said that she is trying her best, but it's tough on her being a newly single, young first-time mom, and she misses my son and has depression. She hasn't been diagnosed because of it. Am I an idiot? Should I be more patient and understanding with her? So how long is your son in prison for? Or rehab? Your loser son left her to deal with this all by herself. She's also probably got PPD, which doesn't care if you get a diagnosis. It's still gonna wreck you. She knows she's a hot mess. Reminding her of it is the opposite of helpful. You are the idiot. She's doing better at being a parent than your deadbeat son is. OP, you're leaving out a key piece of the story. Why your daughter-in-law is a single mom of an infant. I highly suspect that's the prime factor, combined with the postpartum hormones, and why your daughter-in-law struggles with depression. First, stop threatening to put her out. It's only making the depression and anxiety worse, making her feel more lost and hopeless, and that her life isn't worth living. Next, help her find a counselor or therapist immediately. Also, help her find social service resources that may be available due to her current economic situation and why your son has dropped out of the picture. Wow, you must resent this woman for casually dismissing something as serious as depression. I mean, wouldn't you be depressed if your baby daddy was in prison or a deadbeat? Wouldn't you be depressed if you were a single mom and the grandma who could help was complaining to you and calling you names? Maybe offer help and show some compassion. I'm a female teen, a younger sister to Lori, 26. Lori and I have never been close since we had different dads. I was an affair baby. She's always resented me for ruining her family. But whatever. Lori has 6 kids. Yes, 6. Twin boys, Beck and Joe, planned. A girl, Liliana, unplanned. Another girl, Angel, planned. Another boy, Keith, planned. And another baby boy, Carl, not planned. Even though Lori cannot take care of these kids, 4 of them were planned because she knows my pushover mom will give her money and watch the kids. My mom even quit her job to do so, even turning her workroom into a nursery for Carl. We're pretty well off, but we can't do this forever. I try not to judge and ignore Lori as she does me. Even though when my mom is busy doing something like changing a diaper, I have to step in and help. Especially with the twins since they're very rough with each other. Tonight at dinner, Lori's boyfriend joined, a father to just Carl, as well as Lori's father. This wasn't unusual, so I didn't think anything of it until my sister said she had some exciting news. I wish she'd say something else, but I knew what she was going to say. I'm pregnant, she would say. Everyone went dead silent until I said, bruh. I didn't mean to say it out loud, but come on. Lori gave me a death stare and said if I wanted to say something, I should just say it. So I did. Lori, this is your, I take a moment to count, 6th child? You know we can't keep supporting you. Without mom, you'd be on the streets. And you know that. Look at mom. She's so tired. She's always taking care of your kids. And so am I. I bet I changed more diapers than you selfish witch. She began crying and ran into her boyfriend's car. He followed her and drove. My mother began to cry. She left to get Carl back to bed as he woke up. It was just me and Lori's father. He began to yell and told me I was a brat, and Lori was a great mother, and then he stormed off. As I'm sitting here in the morning watching the boys, I was thinking, was I too obnoxious? My mom says that a lot. I don't mean to be because of my autism, but come on. Please give me some feedback. My God, it's a uterus, not a clown car. Not the idiot. You were blunt for sure, but at some point, something needs to be said. She can't take care of her already present children, and bringing more of them into the world is completely insane, both for her, for your mom, for you, who ends up helping way too much for your age, and most importantly for those kids. The irony of them all yelling at OP for saying Lori's a bad mother. Then Lori leaves with none of her kids, leaving them with OP and Grandma. That says it all. You're a little bit the idiot for how and when you said it, but you're also a teenager, and your sister is supposed to be an adult with a fully developed brain. It absolutely wasn't your place to say anything, but clearly, no one else in your family was going to. You need to save up and move out. Those kids are not your problem. The dramatics in this post, I take a moment to count, and to top it all off, OP's counting off. She just named the 6 kids Lori already has, which means that this is Lori's 7th child, not 6th. Do you have an exit plan for when you turn 18? You already have childcare pushed on you. It'll worsen once you finish school. Can you get a part-time job and/or start spending a lot of your time with a friend or friends? Make yourself scarce to minimize being forced to babysit. Maybe that will force your mom to make your sister more involved, or push her to force your sister to find other sitters. 7 kids and counting is too many. My husband, 37 male, and I, 37 female, have 4 kids. Our twins, male and female young teens, are in the 8th grade. Our son, Bayard, and our daughter, Adeline. On Monday, my husband and I both got texts from Bayard that he needed to talk to us when we got home. We found this odd and talked to each other before the kids got home. Once they were home, we spoke to Bayard in his room. He told us that he had heard Adeline was being rude to her history teacher. This teacher also has Bayard in a different period. The teacher is also Bayard's baseball coach. Bayard and his friends look up to her. She knows so much about the sport and will talk to them about all the games going on, and she also gives them advice on things. My husband and I have never seen Bayard that mad. He was red in the face. He said he didn't know much of the details, but he had heard from some kids that Adeline asked the teacher if she was on her period. We emailed the teacher and got a reply on Tuesday. She admitted everything Bayard said was true and gave us some details. What she said was absolutely horrifying. She said it started when Adeline was talking with some friends while she was trying to instruct the class, and when she told her to stop, Adeline refused. The kids were learning about Thomas Jefferson, and one of the kids asked if he was autistic, as the kid had read it somewhere. Adeline and her friend had made some jokes about autistic people, who basically called them stupid. One of the kids on the baseball team, Bayard's friend, is autistic, and Adeline is very aware of that. He's a really bright and sweet kid. The teacher told her that wasn't very nice and tried to educate them a bit on what autism was. This is when Adeline said that the teacher was overreacting and asked her if she was on her period. The teacher admitted that she didn't call because she had had bad experiences with these types of phone calls and was afraid of how we'd react. We told her she didn't need to worry. After this, my husband and I agreed that Adeline would lose her phone for at least a few weeks, and she needed to write an apology letter to her teacher and the boy she made fun of, even though he wasn't in that period of her class. Adeline wrote an apology letter to both, but they seemed insincere and potentially AI generated. When asked about it, she admitted she used AI to write it. We told her it needs to be genuine, but she's refusing to write a letter. She's saying forcing her to write an apology is going against her right to express her true thoughts and is calling us names. Am I the idiot for making my daughter write an apology letter? JC, get control of your young teen. There's a difference between sharing thoughts and being blatantly rude. Don't let up on the apology. What an ungrateful, horrible child. Adeline needs to lose more than her phone. Handwritten letter, no phone. Sitting at the kitchen table supervised until done. It's the bare minimum. This attitude creates a child who becomes a monster when backs are turned. Throw in an essay about autism and a second one on how misogynistic her asking about the teacher being on her period was, about how in the past, women were not allowed to enter churches or schools because they were unclean during their cycles. Not the idiot for the punishment, but man, how did your kid get here? Agree, she's had her free expression and used it to be an idiot, so you're not curtailing crap. Free speech doesn't mean consequences free. If she doesn't want to apologize, then it sounds like she needs more consequences. Your job is to parent. That means punishing and teaching to be better. Hold firm. You've got this. A few days ago, my wife, 28, and I, 30, discovered she's pregnant. We had been trying for about a year after she experienced a loss that we hadn't planned. We're both super happy and excited to become parents. So yesterday, I went out to lunch with my mom, and I told her the news, to which she was thrilled for my wife and me. I didn't think anything of it until I told my wife that I told my mom, and she was immediately upset with me. Given how her last pregnancy ended, she said she wasn't ready for people to know. She said that now, because my mom knows that she's pregnant, she's going to know if something goes wrong, and she's not comfortable with that. When I asked her why that was such a big deal, all she could say was, it just is, and I wouldn't understand. In my defense, it's not just her news to share, it's ours, and it's completely reasonable to tell my mom, as she is an immediate family member whom I'm very close with. I also know for a fact she already told her sister, so I just don't see how telling my mom is a problem. She also never communicated to me that she wanted me to keep the news to myself. A day later, she's still very much mad at me. I'm getting the silent treatment, and she avoids me like I'm the one who did something bad. Again, I didn't do anything wrong here. While I understand that it's her body, I think it's unfair that she can tell her support system, but I'm not allowed to tell mine. Am I the idiot? Wow. You really can't be this obtuse. A quick lesson from a 62-year-old married guy. For the record, yes, the two of you are married, and you're both sort of pregnant. But now, listen very carefully. My wife endured 2 losses, and I don't care who the guy is. There is no way, repeat, no way, we as men can fully understand the emotions women go through if a pregnancy goes wrong. Furthermore, did you swear your mother to secret, or has she now told everyone and anyone that you're expecting? Now think for a moment about what this will put your wife through if, heaven forbid, something goes wrong with the pregnancy. If by now 47 other people know about the pregnancy and something does go wrong, imagine your poor wife having to explain 47 times over her heartache and how it makes her feel. So yes, you are a clueless idiot. Absolutely, and mother-in-laws are usually insanely critical of their sons' wives. So if she has a loss, she may very well go, what's wrong with her? If I were pregnant, I'd much rather tell a close friend over his overly critical mother. Dude, you're not pregnant, and therefore it's not your pregnancy to announce. You're there to support her. I would recommend couples counseling because I think you have deeply betrayed her trust. And I can't tell if you're truly as dense as you're coming across here, or if you just have no empathy for your wife's feelings. There is a difference between sharing the news, like you did with your precious mommy, and wanting support from someone close to you who shares your anatomy. Update. After typing this all out and coming back and rereading it, I realized that I sounded like an idiot and apologized to her. She accepted my apology, and we made up and got sushi. My wife did not have raw fish. She had a California roll with imitation crab, which is perfectly fine from everything we've read. Thank you for helping me realize I was in the wrong. LOL.